What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and yesterday we got what's potentially the best weapon pack we've received so far here in Generation Zero, offering us a unique new powerhouse of an SMG that goes fully toe-to-toe with the experimental K-Pists, and its own unique silencer that makes it one of the most stealthy guns in the game. A new DMR, or Designated Marksman Rifle, that is hands down the best neutering weapon in the game, removing all the components off a machine with borderline unmatched accuracy and an obscene level of stealth. And what's literally the grenade launcher of my dreams, the absolute pinnacle of all the DLC guns added so far. Today, we're going to have an in-depth analysis of these guns, give you dudes strats and ideas of how to make best use of your new DLC guns, and then we'll look at the way these guns will eat through your ammo with a rounds per minute test, and an accuracy assessment allowing you to know what these guns will behave like at certain distances. And then, lastly, a fat appreciation post for the G79. So, let's get into it. This pack comes with 3 excellently designed guns with awesome reflective surfaces, a new real nice looking more brown wood for our stocks, and realistic tritium sights to complete the entire package. The G79 makes this pack worth it alone. The S21 and the Kotonok are crafting this very interesting brand new meta here in Generation Zero, and the Com-10 is just absolutely disgusting. The S21 is a semi-automatic designated marksman rifle. Its bullets fly very accurately for a very long distance, but it uses the kind of underpowered but surplus 7.62 ammunition. And the Com-10 comes with 2 firing modes, one being fully automatic and the other one being semi-automatic. And surprisingly, the semi-automatic is pretty useful to use. It winds up becoming like a pistol with a really large magazine. Its accuracy leaves something to be desired due to that large magazine, but when you get up close with this thing, it actually rips. The M79 is a single-shot break-action grenade launcher. Break-action meaning that you pop it open and you load the grenade in manually. Stats-wise, things are actually really interesting here. You can see why the Com-10 does so much damage. It's actually very comparable to the S21. But the S21 has this very nice cascading damage handling and rate of fire. The Com-10 has a lower amount of damage, a very nice amount of handling, and an obscene rate of fire. And then the G79 kind of flips that all on its head, has an obscene damage, really good handling, and then a very low rate of fire. For attachments, the S21 comes with an extended magazine of its own, and just like the Kotonok, attaches with a rifle silencer, so the hunting rifle silencer, and then you have the 2 long-range scopes that you can attach to it. So that is the 6x12 and the 8x16. For the Com-10, you have its unique silencer, an extended magazine that was the bane of my existence, as well as the ability to attach the typical SMG compensator, and also the red dot sight. For the rounds per minute, the S21 came in at 140 rounds per minute, the Com-10 came in at 500 rounds per minute, and the G79 came in at 14 rounds per minute. For the S21 as a semi-automatic weapon, it's kind of based on how fast you yourself can fire, and it doesn't seem to have any sort of shot delay, so you can really just kind of blap away with it. Now for accuracy, this is where things get maybe a little bit spicy because we have 3 very different types of weapons to work with in this pack. So we're going to give the Com-10 kind of our typical accuracy test, matching up its shot groupings over on the scoreboards here. Then for the S21, we're going to do a long-range test, kind of similar to what we did with the Kotonok back when it came out. And for the G79, we aren't going to really do too many tests. Instead, we're just going to talk about how awesome it is. Next week, though, we're going to be going even deeper and doing some comparisons and some kind of versus videos with these brand new weapons versus some of the weapons that we already have, just to see the kind of benefits of them or maybe the deficits. First up, the Com-10, and we're going to compare both the compensator as well as the silencer. The Com-10 is very erratic, as you would expect, with the crazy fire rate that it's got. Its shots go all over the place, but you do generally have a rate of control when you're within maybe about 20 feet of your enemy. The compensator does make a noticeable difference on the amount of recoil that you have and the kind of randomness that the recoil will create with where your bullet's trajectory will be flying. And lastly here, you really don't want to use this against anything that is beyond a close range distance. This very much is a CQC type of weapon. A damn stealthy one though. But yeah, again, this is not effective against anything that is beyond roughly about 20 feet of you. When you load the Com-10 up with explosive SMG ammo, this thing becomes an absolute godslayer in this game. It is disgustingly deadly, and the explosions actually kind of trade off for the damage fall off that you get at further distances with the light caliber of the 9mm SMG. But yeah, load this thing up with explosive ammo and just watch the sparks fly. Next up, the S21. This thing is deadly accurate, and one of the best long-range tests we have is over at the Skite Club with this 200-meter shot. And the S21 is dead on the money at 200 meters. It might be hard to see, but there is a bullet hole right on the 1 for the 10 score right in the middle there. The only problem is that when you're fighting at around 200 meters, you're suffering some very harsh damage penalties to the 7.62. So this, again, kind of sits into this weird realm that DMRs are kind of creating here in Generation Zero, where it's actually kind of a underpowered gun with a purpose. And the purpose of that is purely for removing delicate components off of machines that you don't want to kill. So if you're farming rivals and you're trying to get the Reaper, a weapon like this actually serves a huge amount of purpose, especially due to its intense amount of accuracy. But beyond its accuracy, its levels of stealth are also very obscene. You can see here that with a decent amount of distance between you and a runner or something like that, you can kind of pull off a large number of pot shots on them, with them being none the wiser to where you're at. And this isn't even a stealth build, so I'm very curious to see how this weapon will perform with the kind of appropriate build accompanying it. Now, of course, that damage drop-off and kind of low damage output does remove its ability to be a long-range sniper rifle that you're going to be killing with one shot, like the hunting rifle and the PVG. But still, you can rely on its accuracy to land a couple of direct shots on components like fuel cells and optics. As you can see there, though, the S21 does struggle to get the kill, just like the Kotenok does. But the kind of purpose that I'm finding with the S21 and the Kotenok as well lately is that it's actually much better suited for approaching machines that you don't want to destroy, funnily enough. So say if you're trying to farm up enough score in a difficult region like the Archipelago to farm a lot of score in, this can be your approach to setting up harvesters so that way you could farm from them, making hunters less of a threat so that way if you find them in a pack, you can kill their buddies and leave them on their own, and a whole bunch of other uses along those lines. You won't be using the S21 to rip off a tank's machine gun or something like that, but with the right approach you can use this to fully neuter your machine enemies without risking destroying them in the process. I highly advise using tar rounds, which is kind of awesome for the 7.62 for both the S21 and the Kotenok, because it will slow the enemy, allowing you to hit those kind of smaller components with a lot more ease, and it can actually really trivialize disarming machines in the game. So, if you find that you have a hard time disarming machines in Generation Zero, the S21 and Kotenok can be a great introductory weapon to get you started and used to disarming machines. I have a video demonstrating how to disarm pretty much all of the machines in the game, so if you want to figure out how to do so, that will be linked at the end of the video here. And when you're firing from the hip with the S21, you want to be relatively close to the machine that you're fighting against, so it is very serviceable as a CQC weapon. And lastly, the G79. Literally, like, can I marry this gun? I want to friggin' marry... No, but for real, this gun has so many purposes. It's insane. It's disgusting, man. You can drop a smoke grenade, hide in the smoke very effectively from the machines, even avoiding combat, utilizing this weapon as a stealth weapon. You can utilize EMP rounds to stun any machines and deal with ticks and mass, and you can use the high explosive rounds to just have a really solid punch of damage output. This is the weapon that I'm the most excited for when it comes to the weapon shootouts that I'm going to be doing next week. I'm very curious how the G79 is going to hold up to the Granatyevar in terms of its damage output and its utility. On a surface level evaluation, it seems like the G79 has a bit of a smaller blast radius and a little bit lower damage output than the Granatyevar. Most people have a hard time with rocket launchers and grenade launchers here in Generation Zero because Generation Zero's combat is not the typical combat that you would expect. These do work as crowd control weapons for lighter machines, but they don't work as anti-armor weapons. Instead, they work as anti-component weapons. They are absolutely devastating to exposed components, but do very little to armor. Even though they do a decent punch to armor as well in terms of damage output, you could still look at other things for ripping apart armor that do it just a little bit better. This gun really is a one-stop shop due to all of its utility. You can utilize smoke screens and explosions and EMPs to just lay waste to everything in front of you. And here's just a little demonstration that you really do want to be aiming for components. You can see that when I hit the hunter in his armor spot, it does little damage. But once I shoot him in his machine gun, that's it. Boom, he's done. With the massive amount of utility that the G79 offers, this thing synergizes perfectly with all of the other weapons in the game, and realistically should be a mainstay in any Generation Zero player's arsenal. Personally, for me though, one of the best things about the G79 is how it lays waste to any of the ticks that the hunters are spamming at you. The splash damage from it is more than enough to take care of ticks, and so you can utilize it to really simplify that problem. So I have to say, at the kind of tail end of the video here, this is hands down the best pack that we've gotten here in Generation Zero. Absolutely the best. The G79 is a devastating utility weapon. The Com-10 is a monster of an SMG, and the S21 and the Kotenok are carving a new meta for themselves here in the world of Generation Zero. So really, in terms of a review, I always say it, it's absolutely worth picking up this very affordable content that adds a absolute metric ton in terms of collecting new weapons and having new options in your arsenal that you can use for variety in your gameplay. If you want to pick up this pack for yourself, I'm going to have links to all the stores down in the description below, so that'll be for Steam, Windows 10, the Xbox, and also the Sony store. So, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed this little review and in-depth analysis of the brand new US Weapons 2 Electric Boogaloo, man! Like the video if you enjoyed. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing. If you have any ideas for some new weapons that could come to Generation Zero, maybe throw them up in the comments down below. But for now, my dudes, stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.